The royals are now even more closely related. Thank you to Stamps.com for sponsoring this video. Royals have long been obsessed with keeping their wealth, power, and titles in the family. For centuries, they almost exclusively married their own cousins and relatives, leading to a somewhat shallow gene pool. In 2021, I made a video illustrating this point by tracing all 10 European hereditary monarchs at that point back to a single royal couple, Johann Wilhelm Friso, Prince of Orange, and Marie-Louise of Hesse-Kassel, who were married in 1709. However, there have since been two big changes to the lineup of European monarchs. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth II died and Charles III became King of the UK. And in 2024, Queen Margrethe II abdicated and Frederick X became King of Denmark. Now, the new 10 monarchs are even more closely related through a more recent royal couple, Ludwig IX, Landgrave of Hesse-Darmstadt, and Caroline of Zweibrücken, Countess Palatine, who were married in 1741. Let's meet the new great-great-grandparents of Europe and see how the royal families of Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and Monaco are all related to them. Plus, we'll take a look at the lineage of the heirs who are patiently waiting to inherit thrones, to see how soon I might have to update this video again. Ludwig, often referred to as Louis in English, was born in 1719 to the Landgrave of Hesse-Darmstadt, at the time part of the Holy Roman Empire. A Landgrave is a rank below a duke but above a count, comparable to the British title Marquess. When Ludwig was 21, his maternal grandfather left him lands in Alsace, which were half in the Empire and half in France. While there, he frequently visited Zweibrücken and got to know Caroline, the eldest daughter of Count Palatine. She agreed to marry him in 1741, but it soon became clear that they were mismatched. He was solely focused on his career in the French military, while she was highly intellectual and social. They lived apart but managed to meet up enough to produce 8 children. The couple spent one happy year together at the Prussian royal court. He shone as a commander in the 7 Years' War, and she dazzled the court with her wit. Their diverse talents earned the admiration of Frederick the Great. He called Caroline the glory and wonder of our century. But the king was posturing for war with Maria Theresa, and Ludwig's father, who was a diehard supporter of the empire, insisted that they return home. Caroline desperately missed Berlin and lamented the boring courtiers in Darmstadt. But she adored her father-in-law and became an apprentice to him, while her husband was off creating his own private army. Ludwig built a garrison near a remote hunting lodge and had no joy but running drills. Several German monarchs supplied mercenary troops to foreign powers. 25% of the soldiers fighting for the British during the American Revolution were German. They were not all from Hesse, but were collectively known as Hessians. Ludwig was well paid for renting out his troops, but he reinvested everything into outfitting his men and rewarding his lieutenants. When his father died and he became Landgrave, he sent a constant stream of letters to his wife, insisting that she slash state expenses and fire the palace staff. Caroline had to sell her own jewelry to pay for her children's education, which her husband did not consider a worthwhile expense. She didn't regret the loss of finery nearly as much as seeing servants unemployed. But she found happiness in raising her children, and in her correspondence with the great thinkers in Berlin and Paris. Caroline became renowned at the courts of Europe through her thousands of eloquent letters. She was known as the Great Landgravine, and many noble persons stopped in Darmstadt to visit her. Enlightenment writer Christopher Weiland wished that he could make her Queen of Europe. As her children grew up, Caroline had the difficult task of finding suitable marriage partners with the limited resources her husband was willing to spare. Like everything else, she managed beautifully and made marvelous matches. But she was heartbroken to bid her children farewell. Stress wore Caroline down, and she died at 53. Frederick the Great sent a marble urn for her tomb, which was inscribed, "In sex a woman, in spirit a man." Incredible praise from the famously misogynistic monarch. Ludwig went on merrily drilling his troops for another 16 years and died in 1790 at the age of 70. Though 6 of Caroline and Ludwig's 8 children made illustrious marriages, only 2 of the daughters are needed to link us to all the modern monarchs. First, let's follow the Norwegian line. Second daughter Frederica Louisa married Frederick William of Prussia. He was the nephew and heir of Frederick the Great, who was childless and most likely gay. The couple became King and Queen of Prussia. Frederica Louisa proved less intelligent than her mother, but she was kind and delivered 6 children. Her firstborn became King Frederick William III of Prussia and joined the coalition to defeat Napoleon. Beethoven dedicated his 9th Symphony to the king. His youngest daughter, Louise, married Prince Frederick, a younger son of the King of the Netherlands. Her eldest daughter, Louise, married Karl XV and IV, King of Sweden and Norway. The couple were unhappy and he was unfaithful. After a difficult delivery of her second baby, Louise was left unable to bear more children. Her son Karl died of pneumonia at 2, and her daughter Louise could not inherit the throne. She married King Frederick VIII of Denmark. She was deeply religious and strict, bordering on abusive to her children. While her eldest inherited Denmark, her second son, Prince Karl, was elected king of a newly independent Norway in 1905. He took the name Håkon VII, and he and his British wife, Queen Maud, were incredibly popular. When the Nazis invaded, Håkon refused to abdicate and escaped an air raid on foot through the snowy forest. While in exile in the UK, he broadcast messages of hope and defiance back to Norway. Håkon returned after the war to much acclaim. He died in 1957. His son, Olaf V, had a happy marriage with his cousin, Marta of Sweden. He died in 1991. His son, Harald V, is the current king of Norway. At 3, he fled the Nazis with his mother and sisters. They were frequent guests of the Roosevelts at the White House. He attended the Norwegian Military Academy and Oxford University. He represented Norway in sailing in 3 Olympic Games. Harald fell in love with commoner Sonja Haraldsen and defied his father to marry her. They have 2 children. Harald and Sonja modernized the royal family and opened palaces to the public. The Dutch line. Frederica Louise's eldest daughter, Wilhelmine, wed Willem, Prince of Orange. Napoleon invaded and pushed the Dutch royals into exile. But after Waterloo, the Dutch were so pleased to have Willem back that they made him the first king of the Netherlands. Queen Wilhelmina's eldest child became King Willem II. He was wounded at Waterloo. He married Grand Duchess Anna Pavlovna of Russia. In 1831, he lost half of his nation to rebellion, and it became the new Kingdom of Belgium. In 1848, he reformed the government to avoid more revolution. He may have been blackmailed by a politician who knew about his homosexual affair. His son, Willem III, was mentally ill and abusive. After his 3 sons and wife died, the 62-year-old king wed 21-year-old Emma of Waldeck and Pyrmont. She gave birth to a child, Wilhelmina, who succeeded to the throne in 1890 at the age of 10. She married a German prince but suffered 2 stillbirths. After 8 years of marriage, Princess Juliana was born to much rejoicing. Queen Wilhelmina stood up to Kaiser Wilhelm during World War I, Hitler during World War II, and built her nation back into an economic superpower, and became the first female billionaire. In 1948, she abdicated in favor of Juliana. She studied international law at university. She married German Prince Bernhard of Lippe-Biesterfeld, whom she met at the 1936 Winter Olympics. They had 4 daughters. Bernhard was unpopular during World War II, and when Juliana got involved with a mystic who promised to heal their blind daughter, Bernhard conspired to overthrow her. The couple made up and stayed together. Juliana was down-to-earth and popular. She passed the throne to her daughter in 1980. Beatrix earned a law degree. She married German diplomat Klaus von Amsberg, and the Dutch were outraged by his Nazi past. Riots broke out at their wedding. but the birth of their 3 sons quieted the fervor. In 2013, Beatrix abdicated, though she still makes public appearances in support of her son, the current king, Willem-Alexander. He studied history at university and served in the Navy. He married Argentinian Maxima Zorrigueta, and they have 3 daughters. Willem-Alexander worked as a pilot on commercial KLM flights for 21 years, but was rarely recognized. Caroline and Ludwig's 3rd daughter, Amalie, is the progenitor of the other 8 royal lines. When she was 18, her mother took her to Russia to meet Catherine the Great's son, Tsarevich Paul, but he preferred her younger sister, Wilhelmina. Amalie inherited her mother's wit and dominated her childish husband, Karl Ludwig of Baden. The Liechtensteiner line. Caroline had a twin sister, Katharina. At 21, she became the 2nd wife of Maximilian I Joseph, King of Bavaria. They had 6 daughters, including 2 sets of identical twins. Sophia had a twin sister, Maria. Sophia married Archduke Franz Karl, younger brother of Emperor Ferdinand of Austria. Both men were weak, and Sophia was determined to make her son emperor. In 1848, revolutions broke out, and Franz Joseph I replaced his uncle on the throne. But Sophie was the real power. Her 3rd son, Karl Ludwig, had no interest in politics. He married 3 times and had 6 children. He died of typhoid after drinking contaminated water from the Jordan River. His eldest son, Franz Ferdinand, became heir presumptive to the Austrian throne. His assassination in 1914 sparked World War I. Karl Ludwig's youngest child, Elisabeth Amalie, married Alois, nephew of the sovereign prince of Liechtenstein. When he died childless, Elizabeth's son, Franz Joseph II, inherited the principality. The energetic 32-year-old brought banking to the micronation and transformed it into one of the wealthiest countries in the world. He reigned for 51 years. His son, Hans Adam II, married his 2nd cousin, Countess Marie von Wienitz und Tettau, and had 4 children. The Liechtensteiner family is worth $7.6 billion and is the wealthiest reigning family in Europe. The Swedish line. Frederica was a great beauty and married Gustav IV Adolf, King of Sweden. He lost a war with Russia, which cost him Finland, an area Sweden had ruled for 700 years. His furious people deposed him and invited Napoleon's protege, Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, to start a new dynasty. This meant Frederica's 5 children lost their birthright. Her eldest daughter, Sophie, was haughty and resented her lowered status and having to settle for the Grand Duke of Baden. Her 3rd son, Frederick, succeeded his mentally ill brother, Louis, after he died at 33. He married Princess Louise of Prussia and witnessed his father-in-law, Wilhelm I, being declared the 1st emperor of Germany. Their daughter, Victoria, married King Gustav V of Sweden. Her pro-German politics made her unpopular during World War I. Her son, Gustav VI Adolf, married Princess Margaret of Konog. They had a happy union, but she died of sepsis while pregnant with their 6th child. The king was an amateur archaeologist and lived to the age of 90, dying in 1973. His son, Crown Prince Gustav Adolf, had been killed in a plane crash decades earlier, so the crown passed to his grandson, Carl XVI Gustav, who is the King of Sweden today. He served in the military and studied economics at Stockholm University. He is a member of the Scouts and a car collector. He married Sylvia Sommerloth, whom he met while attending the 1972 Olympic Games. They have 3 children. The Danish line. Gustav VI Adolf's only daughter, Princess Ingrid, married Frederick IX of Denmark. They had 3 daughters, so the law was changed to allow Margrethe II to succeed. She studied archaeology at Cambridge University. She married French diplomat Count Henri de Montpezat and had 2 sons. She is a painter, illustrator, and costume designer. In 2024, she voluntarily abdicated in favor of her son, King Frederick X. He studied science at Aarhus University and served in all 3 branches of the military. He regularly participated in marathons and Ironmans. At the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games, he met Australian Mary Donaldson, and they have 4 children. Whether a queen ruled a small island or a vast empire, communication was key to success. Mail was so vital to the development of civilization that Egyptian pharaohs created the first postal service back in 2400 BCE. And if you run a small business that relies on sending or receiving anything, then you know how vital the postal service is today. Fortunately, we no longer have to rely on Roman roads or the Pony Express when we have Stamps.com. Stamps.com streamlines all your mailing and shipping, and the app is like having a post office in your pocket, so you can stay on top of things even when you're on the go. Postage rates just went up again, but luckily Stamps.com has the best discounts in the industry, with rates you can't find anywhere else, like up to 89% off USPS and UPS. Keep your mailing and shipping moving at the speed of your business with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com/teatime for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com/teatime. And now, back to history. The Luxembourgish line. Charles I, Grand Duke of Baden, was forced to marry Napoleon's adopted daughter, Stephanie de Beauharnais. They had an unhappy marriage and 5 children. Josephine wed Karl Anton, Prince of Hohenzollern. Their 6th child, Marie, was famed for her beauty and wed Prince Philippe, the 2nd son of King Leopold I of Belgium. When his brother, Leopold II, died without an heir, Marie's son became King Albert I. He married Duchess Elizabeth in Bavaria. Their simple and happy life with their 3 children made them popular. During World War I, the king took personal command of the Belgian army and lived in the trenches with his men for 4 years, while the queen worked as a nurse at the front. After the German defeat, the king focused on rebuilding his country. In 1934, the king fell 60 feet while rock climbing and was killed. His son became Leopold III. He married Astrid of Sweden and had 3 children. Astrid died in a car crash at 29. During World War II, Leopold surrendered to the Germans. His people were outraged and later forced him to abdicate in favor of his son, Baudouin. Leopold's eldest child, Josephine Charlotte, married Jean, Grand Duke of Luxembourg. She was renowned for her elegance and philanthropy. Her son, Henri, is the current Grand Duke. He attended the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst and studied political science at the University of Geneva. He dated fellow student, Cuban-born Maria Teresa Meste y Baptista and married her after graduation. They have 5 children. Henri is worth $4 billion. The Belgian line. Leopold III's 3rd child, Albert II, succeeded his childless brother in 1993. He and his wife, Italian Donna Paola Ruffo de Calabria, have 3 children. He also had an 18-year affair with the Baroness. The resulting daughter, Delphine, sued for paternity and is now legally a princess. Amid the scandal, Albert abdicated in favor of his son, Philippe, the current king. He attended the Belgian Royal Military Academy, Oxford University, and Stanford. He and Queen Mathilde have 4 children. The Monegasque line. Marie Amélie married Duke William Hamilton. He built a Bavarian castle for her in Scotland. Their daughter, Mary Victoria, married Albert I, Prince of Monaco, after he was turned down by Queen Victoria's daughters. The couple had 1 son before divorcing. She took her son, Louis, with her and married a Hungarian prince. When he was 11, he had to return to Monaco, but he hated his father and left to join the French Foreign Legion. He fought in World War I and had an affair with a Parisian cabaret singer, which produced a daughter, Charlotte. She was legitimized and married the Duke of Valentinois. They had 2 children, but divorced because he was gay. Louis II introduced the Grand Prix to Monaco and passed the throne to his grandson, Rainier III. He transformed Monaco into a wealthy tax haven and cultural destination. He married Hollywood actress Grace Kelly and they had 3 children. But Rainier was unfaithful and the couple were unhappy. In 1982, Grace accidentally drove off a cliff and died at 52. In 2005, Rainier passed the throne to his son, Albert II, the current Prince of Monaco. He attended university in the United States and bobsledded in 5 Olympics. His personal wealth is $1 billion. He appeared in tabloids with a variety of models and actresses and fathered at least 2 illegitimate children. At 53, he settled down with 33-year-old South African Olympic swimmer Sharlene Wittstock, and they have twins. The British Line. This is the line that changed everything. Prior to 2022, 9 of the 10 monarchs were descended from Caroline and Ludwig, all except for Queen Elizabeth II. But her husband, Prince Philip, who was a prince of Greece and Denmark, was actually more closely connected to the other royal houses. Now that his son, Charles III, is king, all 10 monarchs descend from Caroline and Ludwig. Their granddaughter, Wilhelmine, married Louis II, Grand Duke of Hesse and by Rhine. They had 3 children, but he was a womanizer and they separated. Her last 4 children were probably fathered by her lover, including Prince Alexander. He accompanied his younger sister, Marie, to Russia, where she married the future Tsar Alexander II. He fell in love with one of his sister's ladies-in-waiting, Princess Julia of Battenberg. She was an orphaned ward of the emperor and he forbade their marriage, so they eloped. She delivered their first child 6 months later. Alexander joined the Austrian army to provide for his children. His eldest son, Louis, joined the British Navy and rose through the ranks on his own merits and talent. But Queen Victoria's fondness for him made it look as though it was nepotism. He married one of the Queen's granddaughters, Princess Victoria of Hessen by Rhine. After 40 years of service, Louis was named First Sea Lord and prepared the Navy for World War I. But because he was German, he was forced to retire. He relinquished his German titles and changed his name from Battenberg to Mountbatten. King George V made him Marquis of Milford Haven instead. His daughter, Alice, married Prince Andrew, the 4th son of King George I of Greece, a Danish prince who had been elected King of the Hellenes. In 1917, most of the Greek royal family was ousted and forced to flee. Amid the stress, Alice was diagnosed with schizophrenia and committed to a sanatorium. She recovered and returned to Greece to dedicate her life to charity work. During World War II, she sheltered Jewish refugees and founded an order of nursing nuns. In 1967, her son and daughter-in-law invited her to live at Buckingham Palace, where she died 2 years later. Her son, Prince Philip, was born in Greece, but educated all over Europe. He served in the British Navy during World War II. His uncle, Louis Mountbatten, introduced him to 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth, and they exchanged letters throughout the war. They married in 1947 and had 4 children. She became queen in 1952, and Philip was created Duke of Edinburgh. He was by her side for 74 years and died in 2021 at the age of 99. His son, Charles III, spent most of his life as the Prince of Wales. He attended Cambridge and served in the Royal Air Force and Navy. He married Lady Diana Spencer and had 2 sons, but the couple divorced amid scandal and infidelity. Diana died in a car crash in 1996. Charles married his longtime mistress, Camilla Parker Bowles. Charles founded several charities with a particular focus on climate change. Charles became king in 2022. The Spanish Line. Henry, Prince of Battenberg, married Queen Victoria's youngest daughter, Princess Beatrice, and moved to England. But he got restless and went off to fight the Ashanti in West Africa. He contracted malaria and died at 37. His daughter, Victoria Eugenie, fell in love with King Alfonso XIII of Spain. 2 of their sons were born with the deadly disease hemophilia and died young. Alfonso resented his wife and cheated constantly. His disastrous reign led to the abolition of the monarchy in 1931. The royals went into exile and the Spanish Civil War ushered in the dictatorship of Francisco Franco. He didn't have any sons, and he didn't like Juan, Count of Barcelona, so he named his son Juan Carlos as his heir. He attended military academy in Spain and married Princess Sofia of Greece and Denmark. In 1975, he became king and transitioned Spain into a democratic constitutional monarchy. He was popular for many years, but in the 2010s, controversies around the use of public funds and an elephant hunting trip turned the people against him. He abdicated in 2014 and now lives in self-imposed exile to avoid prosecution. Felipe VI is the current king of Spain. He studied law at the University of Madrid and got a master's at Georgetown. He sailed in the Olympic Games in 1992 in Barcelona. He married journalist Letizia Rocasolano and they have 2 daughters. Felipe has visited every country in Latin America, received LGBT organizations at the palace, downplayed the role of Catholicism in government, and cut his own salary during a recession. Now that we know how all 10 current European hereditary monarchs are related to the same 18th century couple, let's take a look at their heirs to see when I might need to update this family tree again. As of 2024, King Harald V of Norway is 87, and his heir apparent is Crown Prince Haakon. Prince Hans Adam II of Liechtenstein is 79, and his heir apparent is hereditary Prince Alois. King Carl XVI Gustaf of Sweden is 77, and his heir apparent is Crown Princess Victoria. King Charles III of the UK is 75, and his heir apparent is William, Prince of Wales. Grand Duke Henri of Luxembourg is 69, and his heir apparent is hereditary Prince Guillaume. Prince Albert II of Monaco is 66, and his heir apparent is hereditary Prince Jacques. King Philippe of Belgium is 64, and his heir apparent is Elizabeth, Duchess of Brabant. King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands is 57, and his heir apparent is Catharina Amalia, Princess of Orange. King Frederick X of Denmark is 56, and his heir apparent is Crown Prince Christian. King Felipe VI of Spain is 56, and his heir presumptive is Leonor, Princess of Asturias. We know that all of these heirs are descended from Ludwig and Caroline on their father's sides. But do any of them have mothers with closer royal connections? The answer is no. Because of the recent trend for royals to stop inbreeding and marry outside of their families, many of the current consorts are commoners with little or no royal blood. 5 of them have roots outside of Europe. Queen Sylvia of Sweden is half Brazilian. Grand Duchess Maria of Luxembourg is from Cuba. Princess Charlene of Monaco is from South Africa. Queen Maxima of the Netherlands is Argentinian, and Queen Mary of Denmark is from Australia. There have been 5 recent royal brides from the aristocracy who do have some distant royal connections. Queen Mathilde of Belgium grew up in the Chateau du Losange. Her father was elevated to count upon her marriage. Her maternal grandmother was Princess Sophie Marie Sepia of the Lithuanian aristocracy. Hereditary Grand Duke Guillaume of Luxembourg married Stephanie du Lannoy. Her father was already a count. The House of Lannoy has roots in the 13th century aristocracy of Hainaut. One branch of the family immigrated to the United States, changed their name to Delano, and were ancestors of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. William, Prince of Wales's mother, Lady Diana Spencer, was the daughter of an earl. The Spencer family have been prominent in England since the 1400s. Diana was a descendant of 2 of King Charles II's illegitimate children. Prince Hans Adam II of Liechtenstein's late wife, Princess Marie Kensky von Weinitz und Tettau, came from Bohemian nobility and was a descendant of the princes of Wallachia, including Vlad the Impaler. Her daughter-in-law, Sophie Herzogin in Bavaria, hails from the defunct royal house of Bavaria and is the niece of the current duke. She has the closest royal ties of any of the current consorts and is a descendant of Louis IX's younger brother, Prince George Wilhelm of Hesse-Darmstadt. But when her son, Josef Wenzel, eventually becomes sovereign prince of Liechtenstein, his closest common ancestors to the other monarchs of Europe will still be Ludwig IX and Caroline. So unless new monarchies are established, current ones are abolished, or if the royals of Europe suddenly start inbreeding again, Ludwig and Caroline will likely reign as the most recent common ancestors of all the monarchs of Europe for quite some time. Want even more tea on history? Check out the History Tea Time podcast. A special thank you goes to my patron, Sheila Hofos. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and check out my other history videos. You can also join my Patreon to support my work and get early access to all of my multi-part series. Thank you for watching.